When news spread that Phil Robertson had taken his final breath, the Robertson family braced themselves for the wave of grief they knew was coming. They had watched his health decline, had stood beside him through confusion, weakness, and quiet suffering. Loss was expected, pain was inevitable, but what they did not expect was the emotional storm that would follow after his passing. In the stillness that comes after death, when the world seems to pause out of respect, the family believed they were entering a period of mourning. Instead, they stepped into something far more profound. Phil had left behind not just memories, but carefully crafted final words that would challenge, comfort, and ultimately reshape how each of them understood their relationship with him. When the lawyer gathered them together and placed a stack of handwritten envelopes on the table, the atmosphere shifted. These were not ordinary legal documents. They were deeply personal reflections written by a man who knew his time was limited. As each envelope was opened, silence filled the room, broken only by the quiet sounds of emotion that could no longer be held back. The grief they expected was suddenly intertwined with something far more complex: gratitude, regret, love, and a deep sense of responsibility. In that moment, the family realized that Phil's final act was not simply about leaving this world, but about preparing them to live in it without him. The slow decline of a strong man in the months leading up to May 2025, Phil Robertson's decline was both painful and deeply unsettling for those closest to him. This was a man who had always represented strength, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Watching that strength fade felt unnatural, almost impossible to accept. When the family revealed in late 2024 that he had been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's disease, many assumed it would be a slow progression. Instead, it advanced with alarming speed. At first, the symptoms seemed manageable. He misplaced items, repeated stories, and occasionally lost his train of thought mid-conversation. These moments were brushed off as minor lapses, the kind that come with age. But as weeks turned into months, the disease tightened its grip. Phil began experiencing disorientation, struggling to recognize familiar patterns in his daily life. Conversations became fragmented, and his once commanding presence softened into something quieter and more fragile. The physical toll soon followed. Tasks that had once been effortless required assistance. His voice, once powerful and unwavering, grew faint. For a family that had always leaned on his strength, the reversal was heartbreaking. Yet even as his body and mind weakened, there remained a calmness within him that never wavered. He faced his condition not with fear, but with acceptance. That quiet resolve became both a comfort and a source of sorrow for those who loved him. Words spoken long before long before illness entered his life. Phil Robertson had spoken openly about death. To him, it was not something to fear, but something to understand. He often told his children not to mourn him with tears when the time came. Instead, he encouraged them to celebrate, to sing, and even to laugh. These words, repeated over the years, became something of a guiding principle within the family. They were easy to hear when death felt distant, when life was still full and vibrant. But as his final days approached, those same words became much harder to accept. It is one thing to understand a philosophy and another to live it in the face of real loss. When Phil's final moments arrived in the early hours of May 25th, 2025, the family gathered around him, holding on to the man who had defined so much of their lives. The passing itself was peaceful, almost gentle, but the emotional weight it carried was overwhelming. Despite his wishes, tears came freely. The strength he had instilled in them could not fully shield them from the pain of losing him. His words remained meaningful, but in that moment, grief was unavoidable. What they did not yet realize was that his most powerful message was not spoken during his life, but written in the final days he spent preparing for their future without him. A farewell shared with the world after Phil's passing. The responsibility of sharing the news fell to his children. It was a moment that required both strength and vulnerability. Jace was among the first to speak publicly, offering a simple but deeply meaningful message that his father had gone to be with the Lord. Willie and others followed, expressing both sorrow and gratitude. Their words reflected the complexity of their emotions, mourning the loss while celebrating the life that had shaped them. The public response was immediate and widespread. Fans who had followed Phil's journey for years felt a personal connection to his story. Messages of support poured in, not just from admirers, but from people whose lives had been influenced by his teachings and example. Despite the public attention, the family chose to keep the funeral private. There were no cameras, no media presence, no attempt to turn the moment into a spectacle. It was a deliberate decision, one that honored Phil's preference for simplicity. The service was quiet and deeply personal, filled with prayer, reflection, and shared memories. Those who attended understood that they were witnessing not just a goodbye, but the closing of a significant chapter in the family's history. Even in their grief, there was a sense of peace, a recognition that Phil had lived exactly as he believed. The gathering that changed everything the day after the funeral, the Robertson family came together once again, this time in a lawyer's office. They expected a routine process, the reading of a will, the division of assets, the formalities that follow a passing. What they encountered instead was something far more emotional. Phil had left behind handwritten letters for each member of the family. These were not dictated or typed. They were written in his own hand, each word carrying the weight of intention and effort. The letters were deeply personal, addressing individual relationships, acknowledging past struggles, and offering guidance for the future. As each envelope was opened, the room grew heavier with emotion. The legal aspects of the will became secondary to the emotional impact of his words. This was not just about inheritance. It was about connection, closure, and understanding. Each letter revealed a different side of Phil, one that even his closest family members had not fully seen before. The experience transformed what could have been a straightforward legal process into something profoundly meaningful. By the time the final letter was read, there was no doubt that Phil had carefully planned this moment, ensuring that his voice would continue to guide them even after he was gone. A legacy divided with purpose. Phil Robertson's estate was significant, built over decades of hard work, business success, and cultural influence. Estimates placed its value between $10 and $15 million, but the way he chose to distribute it revealed far more than financial strategy. Each allocation was accompanied by a personal explanation, connecting the inheritance to a deeper meaning. His wife, Kay, received full ownership of the family estate, a reflection of the life they had built together from humble beginnings. Alan was entrusted with Phil's collection of religious writings, a nod to his role as a spiritual leader within the family. Jace and Jep were given shares in Duck Commander, along with a clear expectation to preserve its traditions. Phyllis, the daughter he discovered later in life, received land along with a heartfelt apology that acknowledged years of absence. Willie was given the controlling stake in the business, along with a powerful message about protecting both faith and legacy. These decisions were not random. They were deeply intentional, reflecting Phil's understanding of each person's role and responsibility. The will became more than a document. It became a roadmap for the future, one that tied financial inheritance to personal identity and purpose. Roots in poverty and determination. To fully understand the emotional weight of Phil's final message, it is necessary to look back at his beginnings. Long before success and recognition, he grew up in poverty in rural Louisiana. Life was not easy, and survival often depended on hunting and resourcefulness. These early experiences shaped his world. instilling values of self-reliance, resilience, and a deep connection to the land. Hunting was not a pastime, it was a necessity. Those formative years left a lasting impression, influencing the choices he would make later in life. Despite his circumstances, Phil possessed natural talent, particularly in athletics. He earned a football scholarship and showed promise as a quarterback. Opportunities for a different life were within reach, but he chose a path that aligned more closely with his identity. Walking away from football was not an act of rejection, but an affirmation of what mattered most to him. He valued freedom, independence, and a lifestyle rooted in nature. These choices, while unconventional, ultimately led to the creation of Duck Commander. The business began modestly, with handmade duck calls crafted and sold from his home. It was not an immediate success, but it was built on principles that would later define the family's legacy. Building an empire from the ground up, the growth of Duck Commander was a slow and steady process, marked by persistence and family support. In the early years, the Robertson family faced significant financial challenges. There were times when resources were scarce, and survival required creativity and faith. Kay played a crucial role during this period, managing the household and supporting Phil's vision despite the uncertainty. Together, they built a foundation that would eventually support a thriving business. The turning point came when their son Willie joined the company with new ideas and a willingness to modernize operations. His approach helped transform Duck Commander from a small family business into a nationally recognized brand. The success that followed was not just financial. It brought visibility and opportunities that extended far beyond what Phil had originally imagined. Yet, despite the growth, the core values remained unchanged. The business continued to reflect the principles it was built on: hard work, authenticity, and faith. These values became central to the family's identity, shaping not only their professional endeavors, but also their personal relationships. The empire they created was not just a source of wealth, but a testament to perseverance and unity. Fame and the challenges it brought when the family entered the world of television. Their lives changed in ways they could not have fully anticipated. The show brought widespread attention, turning them into household names almost overnight. Viewers were drawn to their authenticity, their humor, and their unwavering beliefs. However, fame also brought challenges. Public scrutiny intensified, and every word and action was subject to interpretation and criticism. Phil, in particular, became a polarizing figure due to his outspoken views. Controversies emerged, sparking debates and dividing public opinion. While some admired his consistency and conviction, others strongly disagreed with his statements. The attention placed additional pressure on the family, forcing them to navigate complex social and cultural dynamics. Despite this, Phil remained steadfast in his beliefs, refusing to alter his message for the sake of public approval. His approach reinforced his identity but also contributed to ongoing tension. For the family, balancing public life with private values became an ongoing challenge. The experience of fame was not entirely positive, but it played a significant role in shaping their journey. It expanded their influence while also testing their resilience and unity. Redemption and transformation, one of the most significant aspects of Phil Robertson's life, was his personal transformation. Before becoming the man widely recognized by the public, he faced serious struggles with alcohol and behavior that strained his relationships. These years were difficult for his family, particularly for Kay, who endured uncertainty and hardship. His actions during that period created lasting challenges that required time and effort to overcome. The turning point came through his embrace of faith, which marked the beginning of a profound change. He committed himself to rebuilding his relationships, seeking forgiveness, and living according to a new set of principles. This transformation was not immediate or easy, but it was genuine. Over time, he became a source of guidance and stability for his family. His journey from struggle to redemption became a central part of his identity, influencing how he approached life and interacted with others. It also shaped the message he shared with the world. Rather than presenting himself as flawless, he acknowledged his past and used it as a foundation for growth. This aspect of his life added depth to his legacy, demonstrating that change is possible even in the face of significant challenges. The meaning behind his final words, the letters Phil left behind, were more than expressions of love. They were reflections of everything he had learned throughout his life. Each message carried a sense of purpose, connecting past experiences to future expectations. He addressed mistakes, acknowledged growth, and offered guidance tailored to each individual. These letters provided a level of insight that went beyond what he had expressed during his lifetime. They revealed a thoughtful and introspective side of him, one that had carefully considered how he wanted to be remembered. For his family, reading these words was both comforting and challenging. They offered closure, but they also carried a sense of responsibility. Phil was not simply saying goodbye, he was passing on a legacy that required effort to maintain. His expectations were clear, but they were also rooted in love and understanding. The emotional impact of these letters was profound because they combined honesty with encouragement. They reminded each family member of their importance within the larger story, reinforcing the idea that his influence would continue even in his absence. In this way, his final words became a lasting connection between past, present, and future. The end of an era and a lasting legacy, Phil Robertson's passing marked more than the loss of an individual. It represented the conclusion of a defining chapter for his family. He embodied a set of values and experiences that were shaped by a different time and environment. His life reflected a commitment to principles that guided his decisions, relationships, and achievements. With his absence, the responsibility of carrying those values forward now rests with the next generation. The family has already begun to adapt to this transition, stepping into roles that reflect both continuity and change. While his physical presence is no longer there, his influence remains deeply embedded in their lives. The revival of their public endeavors continues to reflect the foundation he established. His story, from humble beginnings to widespread recognition, serves as a reminder of what can be achieved through determination and belief. Ultimately, the legacy he leaves behind is not defined solely by success or controversy, but by the impact he had on those closest to him. His final message, delivered through carefully written words, ensures that his voice will continue to guide and inspire. In the end, it is not just a story of loss, but one of enduring connection and purpose.